This is Michaela McLean, and you're listening to Beauty by Design. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's time to talk about our next gate, gate 24. Before we get into that, though, I want to let you know that this Sunday, April 30th at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, doing Golden Experience Guide, the Golden Hour. This one is going to be focused on my course, Your Energetic Marketing Guide. So I'll be able to answer questions and interact with people. The event is the golden hours are always free, and it's a really great way to meet and connect with the community. And of course, take advantage of whoever education wise, the educators that are there, myself included, and get to, ask questions. So the course is still at the introductory price of $399 until May 1st. So that's kind of like the last moment. Like come see if you're like, yeah, I really want to get in. So that's after that, after Sunday, it goes up to $599. And if you get in early, save $200. You'll get all the updates. You'll get access to the office hours that I'll be doing, module updates, things like that. So it really is an education in human design. It's called your energetic marketing guide, but FYI, you're really learning human design. And I am a 4-1, so you're learning foundational stuff, because we're definitely going to be building on this. Let's just say that we're going to be building on these concepts in the future and really learning more of how to utilize this in the treatment room in a much bigger and different way than is currently out there, because this is about aesthetics, right? So come join us. Of course, grab my free guide, my human design guide. If you're just like, where do I start? Start there. You can always take the $11 classes if you're not ready to really, deep dive into, say, the course. But the course does include all of those classes. So right there's 5 hours of content. Yeah. So I'm like, that's where to get on it. It includes a meditation. It includes a yoga nidra. It's got all kinds of resources inside of it. Episode guide to direct you like where to go. You're going to understand all the episodes so much better after having that foundational knowledge underneath you. So yeah, I'm just excited. I want more people to know this stuff and be able to geek out with me. And it just makes it, honestly, it makes it easier for me, for people to have a working awareness of this stuff. So we can just like really go places with it. So um yeah. So that's that. And yoga nidra. This is really relevant to this episode. So of course you have the clear skin nidra. You can get that for yourself. Your patients and clients can get it, but you can use it in the treatment room, which same thing with the Golden Experience Guide. I do want to point that out. Both the meditation and the yoga nidra are great for using in the treatment room. So I mean, it's like there's just so many things in that course. Just so you're aware. And then yeah, I've got some in the works in the can that are coming. And then some really fun things, of course, with Little Fox, and Yoga Nidra is one of those. So you can catch it all in the show notes or over at Instagram at Michaela McLean. Check that out. Link in bio will get you all the stuff that you need. And like I said, right now, the way to work with me is definitely by doing the Golden Experience Guide course. Like there there's just so many things in the works, and I'm like, I can't keep giving so much of my time to the one-on-one. So this is how to come into the fold, start going through these things. And there's definitely more unfolding moment by moment. So let's get into our episode. And as a reminder, don't try to understand this at the mental level. Just let the sound current, let the energy, the frequency of beauty, just the vibration of my voice sink into your cells like good skincare. All right, so today the sun progresses through Taurus and into human design gate 24, which is located in the ajna, and it's part of the individual knowing circuitry. So, people with individual circuitry have a deep inner knowing that they are here to be true to themselves, which leads to mutation, evolution, and positive change in the world. Okay, so starting with the center, the ajna is our mental awareness center. It interprets inspiration, questions, and information, and then forms it all into thoughts and opinions. And so remember that all of the awareness centers, they all carry basically themes of anxiety. So obviously the mental anxiety of the ajna, emotional anxiety of the solar plexus, and survival, health, wellness, well-being anxiety of the spleen, just straight up safety. Okay, so 24 is known as the return, the gate of rationalization, and it is the fear of ignorance. That's the fear that it carries. So I always think of this as the rock tumbler. That is my nickname for this gate. It turns thoughts and ideas over and over and over in the mind until they can finally be made sense of and shared with others. So the keynote for this one is knowing the answer in a pulse. Okay, that is individual circuitry. Just side note, it's like it's there and it's not there. Mental anxiety that you will never know the answer, that inspiration will never come, or that you won't be able to explain your knowing. So, the low expression for this one is obviously mental anxiety. This gate houses that fear of ignorance, fears like never having the answer, lacking inspiration, the inability to articulate your inner knowing to others. It can also show up in unhealthy and addictive thought cycles that you can't seem to break. It's like a dog with a bone, basically. The high expression is basically relax, enjoy marinating on interesting thoughts, let those ideas pop into your head. Let your rock tumbler do its job, turning the thought over and over, polishing it in your mind without any pressure to formulate it into an idea that you can like hold on to. That's going to come over time as you allow the thoughts to just roll around eventually. And without warning, a solid concept will emerge. It's like, oh, aha, the light bulb came on. But the thing with this is you have to create the quiet, the space, the silence. It's like as I was putting my notes together for this, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, Depeche Mode, Enjoy the Silence." So I was like, "Yep, there we go." It's like lay down, sleep, meditate, get some silence. This is where I was going off on, like, yoga nidra. Okay, so meditation is actually about being able to focus your thoughts, and yoga nidra is about defocusing. So that's really important distinction. I'm always talking about Andrew Huberman, Huberman Lab. He really gets into this because, he coined like his version of yoga nidra, NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. And it is really, in a way, it's like it is about this like zoning out. It's like going through this whole process to really like get out of your mind. Um, so also walking meditations, moving the body to clear the mind, just whatever it is. If you have this, you really want to pay attention to self-care practices in that regard. Okay. So in the gene keys, the shadow of this one is addiction. The gift is invention and the city is silence. So in the gene keys, Richard Rudd states, addiction thinks in circles while invention thinks in spirals. And about the gift, he says, the art of thinking and acting. It is the art and thinking. Oh my retrograde. Oh my goodness. The art of thinking and acting in totally original ways. So in the 64 ways, he says the 24th shadow has a great weight inside us. It affects every human being alive. No one escapes the shadow of addiction. There are many expressions of addiction, the most commonly acknowledged being drugs, alcohol, and substances. We also know that addictive patterns can include eating, gambling, working, even sex. We often we don't often look right into the eye of our addictive patterns. It's also not so often that we really see where they spring from, but we're all addicted to something. Addiction is really misidentification. We identify with the form of the world. Because the suffering inside, we feel it as grief, numbness, boredom, angst, frustration, loneliness, or any other deeply uncomfortable state. We like to avoid feeling that state. So we find a pattern of behavior that temporarily suspends the discomfort. We begin to rely on that pattern so that when we feel the pain come back, and it's usually unconscious, we drop right back into the pattern. Of course, it doesn't really take the pain away. It just delays it, it conceals it, it distracts us from it, and only ever for a while. There are so many stories we tell ourselves when we succumb to the force of gravity and fall victim to an addictive pattern. We lie to ourselves in so many ways. And then, of course, we have guilt, shame, depression, regret, rage, and all the feelings that come along for the ride. It really is something being a human. I think of the secret working of this shadow, and indeed of being human, is just to be honest with ourselves. The 24th gene key was originally called the return or returning. It's about going back to the roots in order to change the pattern. We return to the essential. We examine both where we've begun and where we've reached. He says the soil of contemplation is time. We must be willing to see the shadow simply for what it is, not something to be avoided, but compost. The most beautiful, rich compost for a higher destiny and a higher purpose, our higher purpose. So then he says that the 24th gene key is called the returning for a very good reason. We keep returning into form until we've polished our souls so that they shine resplendent. The greater we shine, the closer we come to the end of our particular storyline. At the end of our part, we hand in all our costumes and return to the great source, the silence from whence we came, and have our time of rest. We also graduate from this plane, the earth plane with its field of gravity. Levity makes it impossible for us to return. Our evolution, such as it is, continues in another form, a form that knows the timeless truth. Okay, so moving on to notes. This is part of a projected channel. So projector rules apply, seen, recognized, and invited. It's the invitation from life to think. It's not motorized. So there's no energy behind it to do anything with this on your own. So basically, don't stress about making these ideas come to life, trying to get them out in the world. Like, that's not the point of this. The point of this is to marinate, to muse, to meditate, Again, it's individual circuitry as well. So it's like your mutative thoughts that come to you. It's just about thinking until you get an invitation to kind of like share it. So, like I said, it's individual. So, this is very acoustic, highly acoustic, very much about the inner ear and the need to hear things repeatedly. And all individual circuitry, I always like to point this out, is prone to melancholy. There's this challenge of explaining what you know when you don't know how you know it, right? Especially unknowable mysteries in this case. Um, I don't have the 24. I do have 61. It's one of my very favorite gates. In fact, the whole channel, we're going to talk about it in a minute. I'm like, this channel is so cool. I love this channel. I love seeing it in people's charts. So the programming partner, meaning when the sun is in 24, the earth is automatically opposite in Scorpio, gate 44. Now, 44 is known as coming to meet, the gate of alertness. And the keynote here is the fear of the past. Awareness through smell for the talents and potentials of others or not. Fear that the past baggage will catch up with you. So again, anxiety. This is a spleen gate. So this partnership, just kind of be aware of that. Gate 44 is, it's the gate of alertness. It's the gate of cellular memory, and it's specifically attuned to patterns of the past. So it's definitely this one that's like, it's fear of the past coming back to repeat itself, coming back to haunt you. Oh, bad things have happened before. So therefore, of course, it's always going to happen again and again and again, like Groundhog's Day, right? But the high expression, this is very powerful. It's attunement to patterns of the past. These are people who are aware and alert of, basically this potential for repetition. So, you learn something once and then, it stays with you, right? It's like in a bad way, and be like some sort of like PTSD. In a good way, it's like, "Hey, I learned my lesson. Okay, I know that this is what happens." Um, so it just helps you, like I said, navigate the future better, carries this incredible pattern recognition because you've experienced things before. So, you just it's very alert. So basically the thing with this is to access the gift of that. It's like I'm better at navigating the future rather than letting the past hold me back. Um, so then the gate that completes the channel, I already spoiled it. It's gate 61, it's Capricorn, and it forms the channel of awareness. And 61 is known as inner truth, the gate of mystery. It's the awareness of universal and underlying principles. So it's the mutative pressure to know something new, to understand the mysteries, to know the unknowable. And so I always say, I see this where like practical, serious, and straight laced, down to earth Capricorn goes all like crazy mystical, And I always see this as like this direct pipeline to God, the universe, the divine. It's pure inspiration. It's very, very etheric. Um, and like I said, it wants to know the unknowable. There's a lot of why questioning in this gate. The low expression of this one is basically caving into that pressure and letting it overwhelm you, being a slave to your anxiety, other mental issues, trying to make logical sense out of things when it's so not about logic. I always say this like let go and let God kind of vibe up here. And then the high expression is leaning into the mystery, letting yourself just be with it, dance with it, being fascinated with the unknown, contemplate it, enjoy it, but don't try to force understanding when you're not in control of it. When the time is right, divine timing, the information will just drop in and you just know things. So this gate is like very much claircognizant. It's just like, boom, I know my interpersonal truth. And, part of that is just accepting that some things are unknowable. Like we just don't know. So with 61 again, just like 24, it's very important. The quiet time, the meditation, especially yoga nidra, which is technically not a meditation, but I'm, I'm plugging because it's just such a beautiful way of reprogramming your brain, especially if you're somebody who has addictive thoughts. So I want to go off on that, but let me finish up. Let me finish up first. 61 is the head or the crown connecting to the ajna or the mind. And as I mentioned back in the 61 episode, it's like neurotransmitters from the storage areas of the brain. You know, they basically take that in the frontal lobes of the brain to make sense. Like the head and the crown center are bringing the inspiration down to the ajna. When the two come together to form the channel of awareness, it's about inherent intuitive knowing that just hits you, like a lightning bolt. It's like you go from not knowing to suddenly knowing, and that occurs in between, in the gaps. There's like in the breaks between thinking. It's like all of a sudden, oh, whoa, something came in, you're not in control of it. It's not based on working out logical patterns or reflecting on the past. I would say it's like, to me, this is shower thoughts. This is just like coming in, blowing my mind. Um, and again, cannot stress enough the whole like yoga nidra and meditation with this. And like I said, my gate 61, that's the channel partner to this, is like, it's just, yeah. I love that gate so much. So 24 has the ability to turn the divine inspiration and mystery from 61 into an actual thought form. You know, uh, again, I love it because they're like Taurus and Capricorn, and then they make this channel. It's just, it's so good. It's so cool. Um, Astrologically, this would be a harmonious flowing trine between those two signs. And then in the quarter of the wheel, it's the first quarter of initiation, the mind. 61 is in the quarter of transformation. So again, this is like recipe for just boom, mind blown. Um, and so what I did want to say, it's interesting. So again, connection charts, when you come together with other people. So I have the 61, my daughter has the 24. And it's so funny because I told her the rock tumbler thing a few years ago. And she just when it comes up, she's like, "Oh, mom, well, my rock tumbler." Like, she understands the difference of this is kinda getting into, like, having children with different things and being aware of what they have in their charts. I know she actually has her north node is 44 and her south node is 24. So she's got both of these things. She's highly sensitive to smell with that 44, like, wildly. And then the 24, it's like these this thinking. It's wild. I mean, she remembers she's still little, but she remembers things that you're like, "How? How do you remember that?" Like, vivid detail. And she will thought loop, sometimes that's great if it's good thoughts, but if it's not so good thoughts, you really notice it. So again, like, as a parent, to be hyper aware of this and know that maybe your child is prone to that type of stuff and that mental anxiety of, like, not being able to let something go, even if it's not a big deal, right? So it's great. So we name it, she knows about it, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, my rock tumbler." And so, I'm like, so that's why we make sure that we're putting good thoughts in. So again, this comes back to yoga nidra. It's like for years now, she goes to sleep to just like I do to one of my many yoga nidra recordings that I have made. And the whole idea is like, you're in this like hypnagogic state, it's like you're super relaxed, you're defocusing, as I mentioned before, and you're allowing all of this really good, really positive reinforcement into your head. So yeah, just an argument for that type of stuff. And again, like, there's science to prove these things, which is so cool. It's like, all the nice stuff that it does for your brain chemistry and all of that, but also just you can reprogram yourself in your sleep. It's incredible. I know it's helped me so much in the last, like I said, however many years I've been doing this religiously. And yeah. Anyway, like I said, you can find that link the link for my clear skin one that is really about the relationship to your skin, how you feel about yourself, your body, how you feel beautiful. But there are more coming, more fun ones. It just, we're not gonna release something during Mercury retrograde. Anyway, do you have this in your chart? So if you have it, look up at the top. So 61 is the very tippy top. That's my end of this stick. And then right below that in the ajna is 24. So if you have 24 in your chart defined, it's going to be black or red and black. That means you have it somewhere. And if it's white, you don't have it. Again, check up above. Do I have the 61? And if you don't have it there, it's like you're going to experience these things through other people, through the transits, through planets moving through things. So again, it's so fascinating to see how this all works and experience it even through other people in your life, right? Could be your child, could be your spouse, could be a friend, a patient, a client. This is where we're going with this stuff. So anyway, hit me up on Instagram, let me know. I have been posting reels that, of suggestions of how to take and use this information in your treatment room. So definitely my estheticians, my injectors, and then people in related fields, massage therapists, Reiki practitioners, whomever. And there's lots of good stuff there of how to actually translate this, for use there. But you're going to have to go over to Instagram and find it. All right. I will be back soon with more. If this episode was of value to you, I would really love it if you would leave it a 5-star rating and review because it just helps so much. And I put a lot of time and effort into these to deliver a lot of free information. So, you know, little karma there. Thank you. Um, of course, if you'd like to learn more human design, free guide is available, $11 classes, golden experience guide if you want to really dive in and start learning. And of course, there's way more stuff in the works, much, much, much bigger vision coming to you. You can go follow me over on Instagram at Michaela McLean. And of course, until next time, have a beautiful day.